When I was growing up, I got to play a lot of games on the PlayStation 1. A lot of different games through several different genres. Puzzle games, platformers, sports games, etc. And since I got the system in December of 1999 as a Christmas gift, I've really enjoyed the system and all it's had to offer. But one game I truly remember on the system is called Grand Theft Auto, a top-down sandbox-style game that involves absolute havoc. If you haven't played it yet, definitely go check it out. I was actually 12 when I first got to play the game, and I absolutely loved it. It's a great introduction to the series that is the bane of Jack Thompson's existence. And when it moved to the PlayStation 2 later on, it got even better. Grand Theft Auto 3 and Grand Theft Auto Vice City are two of the best sandbox games out there, and Rockstar did a hell of a job with them. But between the three games released on the PS2 and later on the Xbox, my personal favorite is set in the early 90s, and in my opinion has the best story and location in the series. And that game is Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Released on October 26, 2004, San Andreas follows the former gangster Carl Johnson as he travels back to Los Santos after hearing that his mother had been killed. He had been living in Liberty City for 5 years since his brother Brian's murder, and as a side note here, there's a 20-minute video called The Introduction that chronicles the events leading into San Andreas, up to the phone call CJ receives from his brother Sweet, where he learns of his mother's passing. As CJ travels to the airport via a taxicab, Community Resources Against Street Hoodlums members, Crash for short, and main antagonists of the game Frank Tenpenny and Eddie Pulaski pull the cab over and blackmail CJ into doing various illegal operations for them by framing him for the murder of a police officer, Ralph Pendlebury, who had been killed about 10 minutes prior. And that's where the game picks up, with CJ heading back to his home after being left in rival gang turf by Tenpenny to try and sort out the recent events. San Andreas has a ton of missions to complete, from illegal street races to beating up drug dealers to the bitch work that Tenpenny blackmails you into. The missions definitely get better as you start to progress through the game. After you hit that first big plot twist that leaves you stranded in some trailer in the middle of nowhere, the game really does open up. I think two standout missions for me include one in San Fierro where you gotta silence some construction workers, and you end up burying one of them in concrete in a porta potty. Yeah. And the other being a huge casino heist you pull off in Las Venturas, where you also end up working with the mob. And trust me, it's not the only time in the game where you've either screwed up somebody's life and are now helping them, or you absolutely backstab somebody. Yeah, the game definitely has a very well fleshed out story. The environments are massive, with three main locations being based off real US cities. San Fierro, based off San Francisco, Los Santos, based off Los Angeles, and Las Venturas, based off Las Vegas, along with all the countryside you'll be traveling through a good chunk of the game. There's a lot to discover around the state of San Andreas, from rival gang tags to some fun weapons. Speaking of weapons, you have a solid selection, nothing too crazy, from the usual shotguns to pistols to fully automatic assault rifles to melee weapons like baseball bats, brass knuckles, and a certain long purple double-ended object found in the locker rooms of police stations. I guess the prison bitch thing doesn't apply only to the inmates. I'm actually playing the PlayStation 2 version here, as I don't know where my Xbox copy is, but graphics aren't everything, and I didn't notice a huge difference between the two ports. Definitely, they don't really showcase what each system can do, but I really have no problems with the graphics otherwise, so I really don't have anything in that department. Now, the soundtrack, on the other hand, I have a lot to talk about. The soundtrack is fucking amazing. A lot of great 90s era music from artists like Creedence Clearwater Revival, Hank Williams Jr., Living Colour, to Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube, and NWA. Also, there's an 8-disc soundtrack from the game released on December 7th, 2004, and each disc features a different radio station from the game. Personally, I'm more into Radio Los Santos. It's the only one I really listen to on the PS2 version, but also on the Xbox version you can import your own soundtrack into the game. So if you want to load your hard drive with full-blown gangster rap, you can. And honestly, I would do that. I think that's the best music to listen to while you're driving around through the city streets and fucking people up. Another great thing about the game is the star power that voices some of the characters, like Samuel L. Jackson, James Woods, and Ice-T. Samuel L. Jackson is particularly memorable for me, as he voices one of my favorite all-time video game villains, Frank Tenpenny. Seriously, this guy is the definition of a villain. He is a corrupt cop who has blackmailed people into doing his dirty work, like getting a rookie officer to kill a fellow officer who is about to expose the corruption. This guy is only made better by Jackson's amazing voice acting. I don't think anybody could have brought this character to life like he did. My favorite quote is right before the mission Burning Desire, and it goes something like this.
Now you get this straight. We own you. You're ours. We can shit on you from such a height, you'll think God himself has crapped on you. You understand?
But there is a whole colorful cast of characters that you run into throughout the game. From the aging hippie The Truth, who is giving Tenpenny free drugs in exchange for not being prosecuted. Of course, Tenpenny has no intention of not busting him. Self-love addict Macker, the insanely lucky Wuzimu, or Woozy as CJ calls him, and a few recurring characters from GTA 3 and Vice City, namely Ken Rosenberg, Catalina, and the main character of GTA 3, Claude. Yeah, I didn't know he had a name either. Overall, this is an amazing game, and in my opinion, the best in the series. GTA has set the standard for sandbox games. GTA 4 will be another review for another day, and I'm looking forward to GTA 5 coming out soon. So, that's my review, and Jack Thompson, fuck you!